information I'm going to enter. Let me put this on the next screen so that it will not interfere me. So doing this. Next, to a different screen you cannot see. So it will be, the information will be put here. So G, that's a student table. G1000, F20. F, my first name, my last name, and my major, MIS. And if I forgot my entry date, I put today's date, month, date, and the year. So I put today's. And graduated or not checked. So that's it. After you are done, you can just click outside this record. Next one or the one before. Double check the information. Register ID, it looks like it's faked. Okay, but we use this one. And the first name, last name, this is not fake, this is real. And my major, you can say undecided as well. And if you can remember entry date, put it there. If you forgot, somehow put today's date here. And graduated or not, don't check it. If checked means yes, not checked means no. Okay. So up to this point, if you entered this information up to this point, requirement number 2 is done. So save the work, even though sometimes they say once you enter the information, the record will be automatically saved to database file. But as a practice, I always click save. Okay, so this portion is done. Now let's move on to the next requirement. Requirement number 3. Build lookup features for CrsID and the SID fields of the grade table. So because in the grade table we have 2 fields, SID and CrsID. And set up criteria for the grade table to satisfy the following requirements. 1, in the grade table fields. Now here, try to clarify those. Once the table name is called grade. The other ones within the grade table, there's a attribute of field name called grade again. So in the grade field attribute of the table, the acceptable values supposed to be either 0.00 or between 1.0 and 4.0. Next one is in the term field of the table, the 5th digital number should be 1, 2, 3, or 4 only, representing the semesters of winter, spring, summer, and the fall. So 1 normally represent winter semester, 0 represent spring semester or semester 1, summer 1. 3 refers to summer 2, and 4 refers to fall. Right now, if we treat everything during the summer as summer 1 and summer 2, still summer, in this case, we'll only 3. Okay. Now, one example is if you have a term 20, we put 2024 there, representing this is the fall semester of year 2020, because the structure of term is first 4 digit indicating the number, the last digit indicating the semester. Okay. Now, this is the information. If you, after class, if you forgot, or if you want to help your friend to get all this done, you go to lookup feature, display control. Under display control, you choose list box. Under rows source type, you choose table or / query. Under row source, you choose, first time you choose, whenever you work with SID, you choose a student. When you work with CRSID, you choose course. you want to take notes, that's something slightly different. You have to have this because we are going to work on two. So one is student, the other one is course. And the bound column 1, column count 3, and column head, yes, column width, you don't need to, you have to, depending on the situation, the information may be different here, but you need to specify those information. Validation rule for the grade information, it's here, in 0 or between 1 and 4. Validation rule for term, you use this one, bit term, 5, 1, in 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay. This is the indication. Now, actually, once we have those information, we should be able to get all this thing done. Okay. Right now, first time, I'm going to demonstrate that you how to make it work. Okay. So I'm going to put this aside for the time being, so that on my screen I will see only one set. So we are going to close student table. And at this time, we are going to work on the grade table. So open this table. And go to design view. This is a data sheet view. We go to design view. Okay. And the lookup feature we are going to build will be for SID field attribute and the CrsID attribute. Okay, let's do the first one, SID. So put the cursor inside this field. And in general, we were working on general. And at this time, we have to click the next one, lookup. Make sure you are here. Click lookup. And don't miss this one, because that's the entrance. If you missed entrance, you will not be able to find out the related information. So once you are, normally we were at general. This time we have to go to lookup. When we go to lookup, under display control, the default is text box. Now we have to click inside this long text box and change that one to list box. Okay, list box. And once you change it to list box, additional information showed up. So if I bring this screen in, some of the information may start to make sense to you. Again, if you have already printed this out, you can, or if you want to take any notes, you can say now lookup, they match. Display control refers to the first one. Raw source type, table, query, no change. Okay. It's already table query. And row source, right now it's empty. Empty means where are we going to go to get the information that will fill in this lookup feature? So we have to click this little arrow. We have 3 tables listed here. If we build a query, and a query information will go to here as well. So if we are going to build the information for SID information, official, whoever entered, any student, whoever entered the university, their information has been documented in the student table. So that's the source, or official source, student. And that matches the information here. Row source, student. Bound column, next one, bound column 1, which means the first one. Which means whenever you show the information, and the information, first information will be actually entered here. The first column in student table is a student ID, and we are looking for their student ID. When you do the data entry, we are looking for that one. And the column count, I put 3 here. Column count, you can just put 1, but sometimes if you want to use some additional information to cross-reference, you add additional information. Now this time, I've chosen 3 first, and then I'm going to explain that to you later. Why do I choose 3? instead of 1 or 2. Okay, you put 3 here. 3. And the column heads, yes. Okay, column width. In this case, no change. Leave it blank. Okay, I'm going to wait you here for maybe 15 seconds. That allows you to catch up. First, you make sure you are in SID, number 1. Number 2, you are in lookup.
How do you make sure it's on SID? Because right now mine is STU ID, but I'm still on grade.
Say that again.
How do I make sure that I'm on SID? Because right now I'm on student ID or STU ID, but I'm still on the grade table.
The grade table should not have that one. And then in that case, you may have some different information.
No, wait, when I click my grade table, it says SID, and then when I went to, you go to design view, right?
Design view, yes, grade. You see, grade, design view. I see those 4 attributes. SID, CrsID, grade, term.
Okay, I just figured it out. Thank you.
Oh, you're welcome. Then when you click, you see a border surrounding this one, and also this a little bit highlighted. So in this case, you know, oh, I'm in SID, not in others. Okay. So make sure you're in SID. You are not working on CSD, CrsID. So you are working on SID. Once you are in SID, make sure you are under lookup, not in general. General is here. Lookup is next tag. Once you are in lookup, make sure the first one is list box. Table query, no change. Student, this is important. You are not getting information from other place. Bound column 1. Column count 3, headers 1. Once you give you another second, make sure you have those information. If you have already done, just save the work. Click save. Okay. Once you saved, you go to datasheet view. You go to here. And some of you may have already noted now, previously you don't have anything here. Now you have little arrow. When you click, you see a big list, but those information kind of squeezed each other. So let's move the cursor between, just like the operations in Excel, move the cursor between the 2 fields, and the cursor shape changed to a cross sign with arrows. Once this sign shows up, click and hold, and then drag to the right. This will allow you to increase the size of this field for SID. Now you click this arrow again, you will have more space to show all those 3 pieces information. STUID, F name, L name. Where do we get those information? They are from student table. How do we know? Because when we specify the lookup feature, the row source we specified as a student. So that's why they pick up the information from the student table. And why they pick up 3? Because we said the column counts. We said 3. So in this case, the first 3 rows information will show up here. Excuse me. The reason for including the first 3 rows is in here is we want to use the student name as a cross-reference, because we really want to know the student ID, but the number itself, we don't know whether we are going to make any mistake or not. So we want to include additional information like student first name and last name as a cross-validation, and meaning, yeah, this is the right student. And because the bound column is 1, so whenever we pick up information, only the student ID will go to this place. Right now we don't change, because once we change this one, the information will change. Okay, we don't want to change the information at this point. Okay. So that's one. And in the space portion, column width portion, we didn't specify any information. In that case, whatever the space we put here will be equally allocated to all those attributes. So you will sense about the same space for each piece information. Okay, that's basically the lookup feature for SID. If you happen to pick up some other record, you press escape key to exit here. Escape key from the keyboard to exit here. So that's one. Any questions for this one? Are we ready to go to the next one, CrsID? Okay, so let's go to design and again, review this one more time. List box, table query, student count, bound column 1, column count 3. Yes, show header, and column width, nothing, empty. And eventually the result will look like this. Okay, the information is from all the pieces information, the records are from student table. And we show 3 fields, first 3, student ID, first name, and the last name. And once you pick it up, for example, if you go to the end, you want to enter the information. Once you pick up as any particular student record, only SID will go to this place. Name and name information will not go to this field. And we specified, we didn't specify the space column width. And in this case, whatever the space allocated to this field will be equally split to show the information. We show the column heads, STUID, F name, L name. So we can interpret all those information from here and show over there. Are you okay? Let me double check. Sometimes I overlook, even though I claim I'm getting better of using chat room, chat box, but still sometimes I forgot. Okay, so no additional question, so it's okay. If this is okay, I guess we are ready to work on the second requirement, a second lookup feature, course ID. Course ID, if you want to take some notes, please, because this information is only for SID. Okay, it's only for SID. But the course ID will be similar. Let me go through this one. Course ID, minimize this first. First, choose course ID, CrsID. Okay, put the cursor inside the box. Number 2, go to lookup. And again, this process will be about same. Choose list box. And once we choose list box, table query will show up. But this time, we are going to get information from course instead of student. So because course ID information, we need to get it from course. From course table, we will find out all those course ID information. Course ID, course name. And the bound column still 1. And column count, you can use 1. Normally we use 2 or 3. So because if you just use 1, sometimes unless you are very familiar with those course ID, you know exactly the course ID, and you can get it from there. Otherwise, it's always safe to have 2. You know, course ID, and the next one is course name. So you can always use course name for cross-reference. Okay. And this one, column count, still yes. You want to show the count. And this time, column width, I'm going to put 1 inch here. 1 inch. Which means because they go sequence, we are going to show 2 columns. The space allocated to column number 1 will be 1. The remaining space will be allocated to the remaining space. Okay, that's the estimation. This 1 inch is the initial estimation. You can adjust that one based on the actual situation. Okay. But specification-wise, that's done. List box, table, query, course, 1, 2, yes, 1 each. Once this specification is done, save the work. Give you another 10 seconds to catch this up for the second one, and then we are going to show the results. It's okay. Now go to datasheet view. A moment ago, we demonstrated SID. Now go to CrsID. So put the cursor in between and then drag this to the right. Basically, we want to create a little bit more space. Okay. And after we create sufficient space, we go to particular attribute, and you see the arrow. Click this arrow. You see a list. That's why we call the list box. You see a list. And the first one is CrsID, second one, CRS name. Where do we get this information from? From course table. Which means if we want to enter a course ID, and if you go to those course ID, any course ID currently available from the university will show up here. As long as the course ID has been registered in the course table. If that's a new course and have not registered in the course table yet, it will not show up. Okay. Now, space-wise, initially we put 1 inch for this one. You see, we have a little bit more space. If space is very critical, we can change that one to 0.7, 0.8. If not critical, you see, it still is too small, you can change it to 1.5, 1.2. That's your choice, designer's choice, or this designer may be business choice. And the remaining information will be used for course name because normally it takes a little bit more room to show the information. Okay. So, any questions for these two lookup features?